Drinks with leaders, it's time to have fun. Business people, lots of ideas. You need some advice, come right here. Drinks with leaders is here.
Where are you? Every week. There you are. There you are. Hey, Sky, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I am so good. Can you believe we're in August already?
I can't believe you've only been doing your diet for only a small period of time. You look wonderful.
It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change.
Yep.
It's called the Heart 75, and there's actually tons of people doing it. So many people have reached out to me, but I'm down 9 pounds and I'm 9 days in. So at this rate, you might not recognize me in a couple months.
I know. I think you look great.
I appreciate it. Well, I am so excited about our show today. Are you super excited?
I'm a little intimidated. We got some awesome, amazing people on the show, and I think we're gonna have a great conversation.
Yeah, we have a really awesome panel today. Real quick, if you want your reminders that we're going live, go ahead and text us, Drinks with Leaders, 913-298-8790. And again, we only got this awesome panel because we both became kind of good at networking. And so if you want to learn how to network, learningtonetwork.com is where you can go for that. So, all right, enough of our ads. Let's get to our awesome panel. Let me do music. What do you want me to play today?
Oh, I have the tiger rolling. You want to change it up?
No, that's fine. Can you do music and introduce?
It's men can't multitask, but we're going to try because coming up first, we have Quentin Scarborough.
Hello. Oh, what a great opportunity to be here right now.
All right, Quentin. Number 2, coming up, we got Steve Johns.
Good morning. Honored to be here.
Number 3, probably number 1 to everyone in Kansas City. He said His Excellency, but I will say former Mayor Sylvester James Sly.
Hey, how are you? And Steve must be on the West Coast today.
Oh, yeah, he's got a great
Thank
can.
you.
I think they're fun.
I do
And
that
finally, number 4, I can't pronounce his last name, but I'm friends with him, so I'm going to call him Isaac.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Tell us your last name, Isaac.
Wambua. Come on, Scott. You got to figure out how to pronounce my name.
Very true. I've always dodged that bullet whenever we've been talking.
Yeah.
And I probably do. I can tell your full life story in detail. I probably should be able to do the last name. But Isaac, we are not going to start with you. We're going to start with Quentin. So Quentin, I know. Yes, Aaron?
I just want to make sure that everybody tells us if they're watching live. And I already know we're going to have a ton of questions today. So start asking your questions. And if you happen to watch the replay, let us know later so we can know if there's a better time to do this. That's it.
Very good point. You know, I forget. I always tell everyone we're like Anchorman and Ron Burgundy. Anything you put up on that screen, we'll probably shout it out. So if this is a shameless plug to your company, please do it because we will read it.
Not anything.
So Quentin, I know it's hard to do, but give us your background. How'd you get to Kansas City and what are you up to today?
Absolutely. I got to Kansas City through way of one of the big giants. So I got here through Sprint. I am a former network engineer, turned into a cybersecurity consultant, turned into an architect, and then turned into a founder of, believe it or not, a pet-based company called PawConX. And PawConX is a way we alleviate that stress of when you go to dog parks and you want to connect with people at the dog parks without feeling creepy or being too intrusive on their lives. PawConX helps you get connected to those dog parents without having to give away your personal information. And here I am today. I've started the business, and one big win that we've had is that we've launched and we are officially in the Apple App Store. And if you're in Kansas City, we will be throwing our launch party at dog headquarters, nowhere better than Barkay on August 20th from 6 to 9 p.m. That's my shameless plug, but I am so excited to be here. I like how you put the first for best. I'm glad I was able to go first, and because I think I might be overshadowed by some of these other amazing gentlemen on this call.
That's awesome. Now, Barkay had its best revenue month in its 5-year history in June. And so that's really good. So what's one hurdle that you've had to overcome recently in your business, just to kind of give everyone a little bit of an idea more about what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love to be face-to-face with people. So what has really slowed us down is having to send emails and show creativity in the email to make people open emails. So that's been a huge hurdle. What do I put in the subject line that relates to dogs that gets people to open it, and then to only see that, hey, I would love to connect and show how we can partner. It's been difficult to really craft those emails, but so far we're getting people to open emails. The great people at Barkay responded to us very quickly, and we're very excited to get this ball rolling during this crazy time.
Isaac, I really want you to touch a little bit on your upbringing and then your decision of the 2 universities that you're picking from and how you picked your university, and bring us up to speed on where you are today. So where'd you grow up, and how'd you find your way to the States?
Yeah, so well, I grew up in Kenya. That's in East Africa. And I went to school there, primary school, high school, college, and I went to school for engineering. And then I moved to the US to do my master's degree. But what Scott is referencing is my choice of the college. A lot of people ask me how I landed in Kansas City. And the most honest answer is I didn't know where I was going. So I just applied for the school, and I was accepted into 2 colleges, UCM, which is University of Central Missouri, and Fort Myers State in Florida. And when I looked at the tuition fee for those 2 colleges, Fort Myers was like 4 times more expensive. So I decided to go to UCM, but I didn't do my due diligence to look at the geography to know where UCM was. I was like, hey, America is America. I'm just going to go. So I landed in Kansas City. And, the interesting thing is that I got into the airport around 8 p.m. and I was tired. A friend of mine picked me up. I fell asleep in the car. And I got to college, went to bed. It was at night. Then I woke up in the morning and I looked through the window of a dome, and I was like, I think I'm in the wrong place because I saw a big farm and cows, and I looked at my roommate and I said, "You guys have cows in America?" He said, "Yeah," and I said, "I think I'm in the wrong place." So it was kind of traumatizing for me for the first 2 weeks. I really wanted to go back. So that's my story. So moving from. I know Quinn is laughing, but I got used to it within a short time. Then I came to Kansas City, Overland Park area, Kansas City downtown, and I was like, yeah, it's not that bad. And again, I didn't have money to move anywhere else, so I stayed. But I'm glad that I did. I love Kansas City. I finished school, and then I got into engineering. And around the same time, I did a little bit of outside sales and working for a few other companies. And then I transitioned into business coaching. And this was based on a need that I saw in different companies struggling with efficiency and productivity. And I remember a friend of mine who was also my coach in 2009 asked me if I've ever thought of becoming a coach. And I said no. And he walked me through the process. So I started the business in 2014, ran it part-time for 2 years, just trying it out. And I went full-time in 2016. And the reason I decided to get into business full-time, it's not even more about the money. What I realized within 2 years is that there's some kind of fulfillment that you get when you help people to solve problems that seemed too big for them. And of course, I didn't make a lot of money my first year in business, but it was an affirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So this is what I do full time. I've been doing this. This is my 5th year full time doing business coaching. And ideally, what I do, again, is to help companies to become more productive, more efficient, make more money. And then we look back and pay employees well based on performance. And that helps with retention and then also loyalty to the company. So that's what I've been doing. A big shift in the business this year, which is, according to me, I think it's a big win, is that when COVID hit and people are getting worried, of course, the first 2 months was all about helping my clients and my friends to stay afloat so they don't go under. And that has worked very well. But I asked myself, if I claim to be someone who likes to add impact into people's lives, and that's what I do, what else can I do? So I came up with an idea of creating a membership site where I can do group coaching instead of the private coaching. And I'm excited that in about a month, actually on the 14th of September, we are going to launch a membership site to help people with the coaching. And something else that we added onto it, besides talking about money and productivity, we have a lifestyle, attached into it. So think about the things that you've always wanted to do, the money you've always wanted to make, but what are you going to do with the money? Traveling somewhere, having a lifestyle, and just having the courage to do the things that you've always wanted to do. So it's a blend of coaching and having lifestyle. And you can tell, I love people. I'm a social guy. So I think that if not anything else, I'm doing it for myself and my family.
Isaac, rapid fire question. What was your degree in?
Industrial engineering.
What are 3 industries that represent your clients currently? Your most 3 recent clients, what industries?
IT, the trades industry, think about plumbing and HVAC, and then manufacturing.
And how old is your recent baby?
Oh, yes. My wife and I, we have a baby. She just turned 9 months old. Yeah.
You and Aaron both look very nice. I know you guys have been exercising a lot and running, so you guys look wonderful. Mayor James, a lot of people are familiar with your story, but in your own words, kind of give us your background of how you got to where you are today, and then specifically what you're working on here in the future.
Okay, well, the first thing I want to say is I really only agreed to do this because it was called Drinks with Leaders. Now, I've been sitting here. Nobody has served a single solitary drink. All right. So first, I protest because we're flying under false colors. Now, Quentin, if you want more people to open your emails, you need to start with a story. You might try something like, "Hi, my name is Quentin, and I was kidnapped in London, and I need $50,000 to get out. Please wire the money immediately." People will open that. Okay. So, I'm just a couple of tips, but next time you have drinks with leaders, have some damn drinks. But I was born in Wyandotte County and a long time ago, back in 1951, as a matter of fact, and then moved to Kansas City, Missouri at the age of 9 with my parents because they wanted to put us in Catholic schools, which at that time meant that you had to not just live in the parish and be willing to pay tuition, but you had to convert to Catholicism. The good side of that is that having grown up Baptist, where church really was basically 5 nights a week, and at the age of 8 or 9, 5 nights a week in church seemed a little excessive. But when you go to Catholic situation and go to Mass, you're in and out in an hour on Sunday, man, and you're done. I mean, it's great. The music wasn't as good, but grew up here, big emphasis on education. Went to the Marine Corps, and I was the only African-American male in Bishop Hogan High School for the 4 years I was there. Graduated in '69, into the Marine Corps for 4 years, came back, Rockhurst University, college at the time. They changed it after I left. I noticed that. Then I wound up in law school at the University of Minnesota and back home. Started in practice with Blackwell Sanders, which was a large firm at that time. I was lawyer number 38 to show you what large meant then. But at any rate, went through all of that and wound up running for mayor back in 2002 or 2009 and won in 2011 and just finished last August. It's been a year now. I had the pleasure while I was in office to really work with some outstanding people. Some of the city people were just at the top of their game, but nobody ever knew it. Troy Schulte is undoubtedly one of the best city managers in the entire country. My staff was top drawer. I give a lot of credit to my current partner, Joni Wickham, who was also my chief of staff for the last half of my tenure, a little more than that. And we were able to get things done. And the only reason we ever get things done is because we figured out how to hit the right notes, how to communicate, how to execute. And we live by my motto that I learned in the Marine Corps of improvise, adapt, and overcome, because that's what you do every day if you're in government. Right now, Wickham James Strategies and Solutions is aptly named. I have been in situations where everything I've done has been really some sort of service. The practice of law, in my mind, is a service profession. We are always at the service of our clients, certainly government, local government in particular. That was limited to local government because I think higher you get, it gets into more politics than governance, and more service, but certainly service on this level. And now our company is basically based on that service we provide is simply to help people figure out strategies, how to communicate those strategies, and how to find solutions to the types of problems they have, both corporate and nonprofit, educational, so it's across the board. Last thing I'll say is Joni's written a great book, Thin Line Between Cupcake and Bitch. We constantly have a debate in the office as to what side of the line she's walking on any given day. It seems to be different from her perspective than mine, but be that as it may. My second book is out now, The Opportunity Agenda, a bold democratic plan to build the middle class, grow the middle class. So we've been busy, we've been blessed, and we have nothing to complain about, as I see it, because when I look around this city and this country, there are people who have serious issues every single day, and they work in relative obscurity, and they try to get along and just get through life. They have something to complain about. So me sitting around complaining about anything would just be a foolish waste of time. So I cede my time to the people who deserve it.
I have to ask a selfish question. I graduated from the University of Kansas about 10 years ago, and no one was really living downtown. And the millennial generation and younger it's just automatic you're living downtown.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite steps that you took to really revitalize downtown to everything that it is today, which is so amazing? And it's just if you're young, you just have to be downtown where the action is, and that wasn't the case when you started as mayor. So what were some of your favorite objectives to bring us to that point?
Well, let me tell you this straight up, because there was one step taken that had absolutely nothing to do with me that was so foundational that, but for that step, we would still be decades behind. That was Kay Barnes. Kay Barnes laid the foundation for building downtown, and she got absolutely barbecued for it. Still sometimes got barbecued for it. When I would go out talking, there would be people complaining about it. And I would simply, I named them CAVE people. It's an acronym for Citizens Against Virtually Everything. But for Kay Barnes, we wouldn't have been able to do the other things. Then it was a matter of reasonable development based on the data that we were collecting. Streetcar was huge, absolutely huge to downtown development. I mean, where else? And I can tell you, having talked to mayors from around the country, we're kind of envied because we have a successful downtown two-line streetcar that is absolutely free, that was over its 5-year expectations in the first 2 years of its existence, has generated tons of development and brought more than 5 times the population of Kansas City every year into the downtown area on that streetcar. So, brilliant move for her to start it. When I first moved downtown with my office in 2002, there was about 5,000 people living downtown. Now there's closer to 30,000, and the goal was always 40. So, everything is built on the blocks that came before. Sometimes you don't recognize the building blocks. You just recognize the house when it's finished. I was on the lower end of the building thing, but Kay Barnes was the foundation to it all, and she deserves credit for that.
That's amazing. You didn't double your goal, you 10x'd your goal. So that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty well. I can't count. I'm a mayor and I'm a lawyer because I don't do numbers.
Well, someone that does do a lot of numbers, has done many M&A transaction in his time. Steve, I know it's practically impossible for me to get your background in less than 5 or 6 minutes, but let's give it a whirl. How'd you get to Kansas City and where you are today?
Well, I'd love to answer your question. First, I want to say thank you. In 2 previous careers, I'm in my 3rd and final. I didn't do any networking. I didn't understand networking or the value of it. The 2 of you are incredible in your networking capabilities. And Scott, you've been a great friend in my third and final career. So many thanks to you. And Aaron, it's the first time we've had a chance to meet, and I've heard some great things about you. So congratulations on everything you've done as well. Well, my apple did not fall very far from the base of the tree. Grew up in Wichita, Kansas. Spent 10 years in Lawrence at KU. And I'm an incredibly slow learner. Married my beautiful bride, working on our 52nd year, and moved from Lawrence, thank you, to Kansas City in 1973, and was the in-house counsel for a property casualty group insurance firm, R.B. Jones, for 7 or 10 years. Not nearly the attorney Sly James is, but had a great ride. We did a lot of acquisitions. We grew from just a regional firm to the 7th largest in the country. Went public with our stock. It was an amazing time in my life. But I felt when that ended and we merged with Alexander and Alexander, which at that time we were the 7th and they were the 3rd or 2nd largest, I really wanted to change careers and do something where I could make decisions, and was introduced to the new CEO at Research Hospital. Research was the first hospital to move off of Hospital Hill in Kansas City. The other hospitals that followed kind of cut us off from referrals from primary care physicians. We were a tertiary level physician, so I was asked to rebuild the primary care base. And we were the first organization, first hospital to acquire physician practices and build medical buildings. We ended up with 14 hospitals. I'm not a hospital guy, but I circled all the hospitals with primary care practices, built medical buildings next to all the major hospitals, and ended up with 120 some doctors on my payroll, 30 locations, and about 1 million square feet of medical office space. So again, it was just a great ride. I got to be an entrepreneur inside of a large corporation. So kind of the same thing that everyone else in this group is doing. My bank was the board of directors, and that was a little bit different. So 20 years ago, I left that, and without really a plan, and did do some mergers and acquisitions, did some one-on-one consulting. And that eventually morphed into what I've been doing the last 13 years. I'm facilitating a peer group, Heartland Heroes Peer Group. The name for that came about because I had a radio show for 10 years. And I hope you all appreciate this because you're all entrepreneurs. My introduction to the radio show is the real heroes in Kansas City are the men and women who get up every day and bear the burdens and risks of business ownership and create economic opportunity for the rest of us.
So, Aaron, you are a business owner and you create opportunity for your employees that work for you. What questions do you have for the panel about their world?
So we have questions, but I just want to tell you guys, I don't know if you heard my phone, I had to put it on mute, but history was just made and Kamala Harris was just named the VP rep. So like everything's going crazy on all these notifications here. So yes, so very excited. Sorry, I got a little like Scott yells at me when I look down. So I was like, make it stop. I'm excited. But
I used to think that, and then I realized that Aaron was running a whole show while I could barely ask one question at a time. And I think Mayor James, I think that's why we partner with women. Women are way better multitaskers.
Yeah. Plus, it's so much easier if you can just have somebody tell you what to do and you don't have to think of it on your own.
Amen.
So so obviously we've got a lot of entrepreneurs here. So let's talk about, I know that business ownership has been, anything you look at, they say that business ownership is very difficult. And I don't want to say it hasn't been because it's been a little bit difficult, right? It's just different and it's difficult and it's all sorts of things during the pandemic. But essentially, what I want to try to focus on is the wins that we've had during this pandemic, because the media only tells us about all the bad things, right? So I like people to hear that people are having wins. So Kwinton, let's start with you. I've unmuted you. I had to mute you because your laugh was so great, but I couldn't hear you now. I think it's like great
Isaac had me cracking up.
So why don't you talk about a win you had during COVID?
Absolutely. Well, every download that we get is a win. Right now, where we're all supposed to be social, or we all are social distancing, a lot of users aren't out and about at dog parks like they typically are during this time of the year. So it's been a very slow growth, but we're still seeing a lot more people at the dog parks just to get some socialization into their lives. And naturally, at dog parks, people are a good distance away from each other, and they're still able to meet and connect and interact with each other. So now what we're doing is we're helping those users take those relationships beyond the gates of the dog park and be able to arrange when they want to connect with people that they meet at dog parks. Therefore, they know, hey, they're safe. They're not jumping all over. They're not getting within the social distance. And you can re-meet up and build a pack of knowledge, power, and support with people within your community. So that's what we're doing. So every download is a big win for us.
Nice. How about you, Isaac? What's been a win for you? I know you've got some awesome things going on during this.
Yeah, first off, I would say being able to stay in business is a big win for us, especially our industry. Coaching for a lot of people is a luxury. They think about it after they are paid for everything else. But we've been able to kind of educate people and help to change the mindset that coaching is a necessity. If you want to win big in this game of business, you really have to have a coach. And then also 2020 is still going to be the best year in business. I've been able to lay foundation and launch a few programs. I've never done this before. I mean, a total of 3 programs in 1 year, just because I had some extra time on my hands working from home. I didn't have to commute. So I see a big advantage, and I didn't have to change my goals for 2020. So it's still very good news for me.
Okay, Mr. James, will you talk to us about a win? And also, what's it feel like to slide out of government right when all this happens?
Well, I wouldn't say I slid because this wasn't happening, and I don't want anybody to think that I didn't like being there, but I left government because I was turned out, and frankly, I'm not having any struggle missing it because I don't. When you know you've got a terminal date, you prepare for it. We were prepared, and by the time it was up, we didn't have to look back because we had too many things to look forward to. So it was all good. We've had a couple of good wins. First good win, first set of wins. The books are fantastic. Joni, and it's very interesting because, she would be writing and she'd send me this over and what do you think? And I'd send it back with a lot of red marks on it. And after a while, I think she stopped sending it because she got tired of seeing my red marks. But she wrote for me when I was in office, and I did the same thing. And so we have that relationship. Her book's fabulous. She's fabulous. The opportunity agenda is great. I'm supposed to do some stuff tonight with radio and then some stuff from TV tomorrow with that. But we've been able to build our business. Our first year of business, COVID and all, was we outstripped our measures that we set at the beginning. So we've had a better year than we anticipated. And this year looks like it's going to be even better still. So again, we got nothing to complain about. Life is good. Business is growing. We're working with some interesting clients, doing stuff that we like and doing stuff that frankly has some meaning. One thing that we decided not to do was take on business just for the heck of taking on business. I'm not interested in that. Well, if we're going to do something, let's do something that's got some layers in it. And if it doesn't have layers, then it better pay very, very well. You can't, if you're going to suffer, then you got to pay for the privilege. But at the end of the day, we've been able to do things that we think have meaning and impact. And we want to continue to do that and be in control of our lives. I love working with Joni. Just had lunch with her today and some clients. And I think she pretty much liked working with me. So we got the best deal going.
And you guys actually turned one in like a week and a half, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, on the I think it's the 24th or 22nd One of those two 20-somethings.
It's the 22nd.
I mean, dates. The 22nd? Thank you. I knew I could count on somebody, a woman, to tell me the right date. I go to my wife.
I know.
I go to my wife and say, okay, I know I should know this, but what's your birthday again? It's June 20, what year? She keeps looking at me and saying, you know, you should know how old I am because you know the difference in our ages. You ought to be able to do that bare math, but what the heck?
Mayor James, do not go to Walgreens or CVS because then you have to rattle off the birthday. That's happened to me before, and I haven't had it on the top of my head, so we're in the same boat.
Well, I do go to Walgreens all the time because at my age, I'm taking probably half as many pills as Steve, and so I'm there all the time. But so far, I just have to remember the phone number, so I'm good.
All right, start asking your questions. I'm going to ask Steve, so get your questions in here so we can start popping them on. Steve, what is a win that you've had during COVID?
Well, my win. By the way, I'm thrilled that Sly is no longer in office. I'll explain that in a moment. My win has a lot to do with sort of what you guys do really well is networking, and I can't tell the story about the win without going back to 2007 when I started up the peer group, and the first business owner to make a commitment to the peer group was Bill Zahner. And Bill's just an incredible, high-functioning left brain, right brain engineer that's creative, fourth generation owner of A. Zahner Company, does what, wonderful stuff around the world. So that was 2007. 13 years later, Bill introduced Sly James to our peer group. We invited Sly to attend a couple of our Zoom meetings. And again, this happened because Bill, it's real hard now to make contact with people and grow a group. I used to be able to do it with making cold calls, letters, and phone calls. No one responds to those anymore. It's your friends that make the difference in making important introductions. And after Sly attended a couple of our peer group meetings and got a sense for it, we offered him the opportunity to join the peer group, and my God, he accepted. It was a great honor. And we also added Joel Goldberg and Marilyn Arnold as well. Three great additions to our peer group. There's nothing better than getting people that you like, respect, that want to continue to learn, that are successful business owners around the table in a confidential environment, and you really learn a lot. And Sly has just been a great addition to that learning effort.
Marilyn is amazing, but Aaron and I joke all the time because we're always interviewing people in sports that we're giving Joel a run for his money because we know nothing about sports, but we get the opportunity to interview all these athletes. Aaron sometimes forgets the NBA and NFL teams some of our guests play for.
No, I met an NFL player the other night, but he's now a business owner. But I so know nothing. I guess he used to be a big deal. And he wasn't talking to anyone. So I started introducing and trying to help him network at this event. People were like, what are you doing?
Please tell me it wasn't Will Shields, was it?
No, his name was Zoe something. Okay,
good. That's a Hall of Famer. Okay, just making sure. Sometimes Aaron talks to a lot of Hall of Famers, and I'm always blown away she doesn't know them. And so I'm always, we got to get the context going. So Aaron, if you don't have questions, do you think I could ask some questions as the audience is asking one?
I do want to hit this one question though right here because I think that I know it's Brett Parsons. I looked it up, but Quentin, could you just talk about why it's only on Apple right now or iTunes? I guess.
Great question.
Yes, sorry, yes, absolutely. So it's only available on iPhone because the majority of the people in Kansas City are on the iPhones, and to switch it over to Android is additional financial resources that we are in search of right now. So it's coming. I promise it's coming. I have not forgot about my Android users, but it's unfortunately we have to generate the revenue and the money to get it going. But it is coming.
All right, Scott.
Isaac, I asked you this question, and I think about it all the time because it motivates me. I asked you the question one time when you were interviewing for a peer group, what was your favorite TV show growing up? And you gave me an answer about dreaming of something else. So when I asked you the question, what was your dream growing up? And kind of explain how you answered the question.
Yeah, so I didn't have a favorite TV show because we didn't have a TV and we didn't have a radio. I grew up in the village, like a real village. And one of the things I tell people, I mean, we were really poor. I learned how to speak English through listening to my neighbor's radio. So the thing that I used to dream about is at some point being able to drive a car, being able to own a car. And I remember telling my brother David, who is a year older than me, and he told me there's no way you'll be able to get a car. And in our village, it was just one guy who had a car. It was a red one. And what I would do when I get off school, I'll get on top of a tree and I'll just act as if I'm driving that car, and I'll make those kind of noises. So however corny it sounds, I think it put something in my mind and stayed alive. And so I appreciate every single thing that I do, especially driving a car. Even when I had an old smoking beat up car, man, I was so proud of it. I'll drive it with the windows down and wave at everybody because that was a dream come true.
I love it. Aaron, do you have questions?
Yeah. So Steve, you and I have not met at all through until COVID, right? And one of the things I think is most impressive is that you are like, this is your third round of your career, and you adapted so well to the digital landscape very quickly compared to, like, I talk to like 40-year-olds all day that are like, how do I do that? And you've adapted so well. Can you kind of talk about, like, have you always been like that when it comes to like the next thing? And how come you were so quick to adapt to everything compared to a lot of people that probably wouldn't have been, honestly, at your age?
Oh,
Steve, are we okay
actually
saying
said
how
that
old you are?
at your age. Oh,
Steve, are we okay saying how old you are? It is impressive.
I got it wrong the other day, and I was reminded by his better half, he's 74.
74, and he gets himself he does all the digital way better than a lot of millennials I know. So it is impressive,
Exactly.
and I'm not being disrespectful.
I didn't take
James,
it that
I bust
way, Aaron.
Steve's chops all the
take it
time
that
about
way.
his age.
Aaron, that's an interesting question, and I've really never thought about it until this moment. In our part of my answer is I'm very impressed with young people who have a vision for what they want to do in life. Sly James introduced us to Yinka Filete, who is the Democratic candidate for Secretary of State for the state of Missouri. And if you know Yinka's story, it's an amazing story. He's very mission driven. And so he's been through several different positions, and he changed each time because it moved him in a direction of the mission he has. Aaron, I didn't have that vision. And the way you phrased your question, it implied that I had planning behind and thought behind my changes throughout my career. My father had an 8th grade education. He wanted to be an attorney. My older brother was Fred Jr. He was taking over Dad's business. Steve, you're a good student. Be an attorney. I'm a slow reader. It was miserable going through law school. I didn't feel like I was a great attorney. I did it because I did it. I don't know. And I sort of just followed the wave. I left both of those two organizations that I mentioned before really without any strong plan. I had people who introduced me to other folks. When I walked away from Health Midwest, I walked away without a plan and without a job. And I just I knew how to do stuff. I knew how to do acquisitions. I had a master's in finance, rolled into an MBA. I knew how to do valuations. That led me into doing M&A type stuff. Made some good money doing M&A, but I realized what I really finally enjoyed making relationships. And what better to do that? And my father was a great salesperson. He was good at relationships. And as I look back, I should have been smarter. I should have focused on that at an earlier age. And so when I started the peer group, it wasn't easy. I was going through cancer treatment, and that made it even more difficult. But I found what I really enjoyed, and I decided I was only going to work with people I liked and respected, and who did things as leaders in the community, and did things, really cared about their business and the people in the businesses, and did things outside of the business for the community. And we talk about building a bridge to the future. And we have a couple not-for-profits, so they don't own the business, they can't pass it on. We have a couple family-owned businesses. They definitely have that in mind. But either way, we're trying to build something high performance and sustainable for the long term, because what we all really care about is employing people who pay mortgages, car loans, and save and send kids to college. I wish I had had a plan. It just happened that way, Aaron.
I just am impressed with how quickly you've adapted to digital. You got your AirPods on. I don't even know how to use those. So Sly, since you gave me a hard time.
Yes, ma'am.
It's your turn. Sly and I are friends.
Are you going to ask me? Are you going to ask me how, as at the ripe old age of 68, I've managed to figure out how to turn the computer on? Very easy. I had my 27-year-old daughter show me.
That is not what I said. Okay, so here's the thing. You did something that was very impressive to me very early on, and I don't know if you really knew that you were doing this, but you were one of the first people in Kansas City to have a personal brand, right? There's a lot of people that have been mayor, but they didn't have the brand, the bow tie, the same, show up the same every time with the personality and the look and all of that. Did you know what you were creating, which would now become the personal brand everyone's talking about? And two, how have you kind of adapted from that since you left office?
Well, I'll tell you the story because it's really not nearly as planned as you might think. But I tell you what, one of the better things that have happened is meeting Steve and getting involved with Heartland Heroes. Been a great deal. Steve does great work, and he is pretty adaptive. He runs the shows by Zoom, etc., and he's pretty good at it, better than I am in some instances. Although Joel Goldberg is the best. I was a straight tie guy when I first entered office, simply because that's the way I'd always been. But I had a bet. John McGurk, my chief of staff at the time, made me a bet of some sort. And I don't remember if I won, I wore a bow tie, or if I lost. I think if I lost, I had to wear a bow tie. So I lost. So I borrowed a bow tie from him and wore it. And then people started saying, "Oh, you look good in that." Yeah, that works. And I said, "Okay, cool," And then I kind of went back to a straight tie for a while. But then I wear a bow tie, and people would constantly talk about it. So then I said, okay, I'm just going to wear bow ties, but I always had to have my wife tie them. And when I was on the road, I was like, well, I have to wear a straight tie. I don't know how to tie them. So I made this commitment when I went to the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting. I forget where, but I made the commitment that I was only taking my bow ties, and that would force me to learn how to tie one. Well, the first night I did that, I worked with this so long in the bathroom, looking in the mirror, that my elbow hurt. And I had to go buy a straight tie, okay? So I learned ultimately by looking at 53 different YouTube versions of how to tie a bow tie until I found one that worked for me. So I'm at this, I was president of National Democratic Mayors, and I'm in the organization before then. And we're having a media session for mayors, new mayors. How do you deal with the media? And so we were going through these exercises all day, and the guy said, all right, what can you tell me about Hillary Clinton that is absolutely well known to everybody? And people would say all sorts of things. Wrong. She has a uniform. This is her uniform. If you see a woman dressed like this, you know it's Hillary Clinton. Each of you have your own uniform. I'm sitting there with a bow tie, all right? And he says, you should never change that because that's how people will identify with you. And I found out he was right because when I was like going out and shopping and things at grocery store and buying stuff, where people would come up and say, you look familiar. But I just can't place you. And I'd always tell them I was Denzel Washington, and they looked befuddled by that. But I would never have the bow tie on. I'd have a hoodie or something like that on, and they would recognize me, but wouldn't recognize. And they'd always say, I didn't recognize you without the bow tie. Okay, so it became a de facto uniform. Right now, I still wear bow ties. I love bow ties. They're so whimsical. I mean, you can do a lot of different stuff with them. You can have all sorts of different things. And some things you can put on a bow tie because it's like this, that if you put on a long tie, it does not work. It does not work at all. It's like the difference between wearing a shirt out of a fabric and a whole suit out of a fabric. It doesn't work well. So I still do it because I love it. And it is a uniform, and people still comment on it. And it's just the way it is. And I like doing them now.
And you're good at it now, right?
Yeah, let's say I've collected a few. You know, I've even got my favorite place. I save up to go and get a tie made every now and then from this place. And it's really, they're my favorite ties, but they're kind of delicate, so I don't buy them too often.
Well, Sarah made a good point here. Relationships matter, and with strategy, anyone can be successful on their journey. She wanted to thank you all. But with that, let's Kwinton, let's ask all of you guys this question. Can you kind of talk about how relationships have really worked in helping you get to where you are with PawConX, and then we'll go around.
Absolutely. Every relationship that I've had, when I've tried to explain what PawConX is, I've gotten a lot of feedback that has helped me produce a clear message. Anytime I would say what PawConX is, it started off with so many words and people would just look confused. And now from talking to people, I just start off with the problem. And it's always, you know how difficult it is or how creepy it feels to share your contact information with someone you met at the dog park. And people always lean in and say, yeah, PawConX helps you with that. So talking to people, creating those relationships and knowing people that support me and helping me to get a clear message, that has been the key to all the great relationships that I have. And Aaron, you, of course, has been the one who's bold enough to say that doesn't make sense. Say it again. No, that doesn't make sense. Say it again. So thank you to you as well as the many others that have contributed.
How about you, Isaac?
Yeah, for me, it was quite a challenge when I got into business. I was a typical engineer. And then I thought, people would be able to just hire me because of my experience. But I realized that I needed to network and talk to people. And in 2016, when I started going to networking meetings, actually I had a very bad experience the first 2 times. I got to a meeting and sat down there, and only one person said hi to me. And for about an hour, they were just talking to each other. But I continued to do it. And after about a year, people started warming up to me. And I realized it's not because they didn't like me as a person. They just didn't know who I am. And they didn't, actually, someone told me that they have seen so many coaches come and go. So they usually don't know whether you're going to last or not. And actually, there's a guy in 2017 we met. I think he's about 67 right now. And he asked me what I do. I told him I do business coaching. And he said, you are too young for that. And he walked away. So part of me was like, who are you to tell me what to do? And the second thing was like, why would you say that to a young man? Okay, you're trying to kill his dream. And 6 months later, this guy, he called me and he said, I want us to meet for coffee. And we sat down and he said, he has 2 leads. I have 2 leads for you. And I asked him, why do you want to give me business? Actually, you told me I'm too young for that. And he told me, I've been watching you for 6 months and you've been very consistent, showing up, and you have a smile and you're positive. So I just wanted to know that you are going to last. And since then, I have a huge network here in Kansas City and outside Kansas City. And it feels good when you go to a place and people know not just your name, but also what you do. So really, as we speak right now, I'm getting a lot of referrals from people who are just talking to my friends here in town. So it really feels good. And relationships, I believe they are the new currency that we need to use at this point.
Ooh, I like that. Isaac, you're good at answering questions. I will tell you, if there can be 19-year-old life coaches out there, you can do anything you want, is what I always say. There are people that are successful 19-year-old life coaches. Sly, how have relationships really helped in your career and your path and journey?
Well, when you're in government or when you're an attorney or frankly, when you're a human being, relationships really are just about everything. Our relationships led us to other relationships that led us to other relationships that led us to solutions, and things that needed to be done got done because of that. Relationships are pretty much the key to success. If you can build them and keep them and work with them, and also shed yourself of the soul-sucking negative relationships that sometimes creep in, you can get a long way. But the one thing about relationships is it is the physical manifestation of the fact that we are all connected. And that's why they're important, because we are all connected and we learn from those. And the learning that we take from each relationship is what we build on. So that's pretty much why. And our business is relationships, but every business I've been in has been about relationships on some level.
I would agree. And Mr. Steve Johns, grace us with your wisdom about relationships, because I think you really nailed this.
Aaron, as I said before, I'm a really slow learner. I didn't figure out how important relationships were until late in life. But in answering your question, I have to think about my parents. My father was successful as a salesperson, even though he had a 8th grade education. And that hard work and effort and his ability to build relationships was key to his success. My mother, high school degree, stay-at-home mom, who loved me regardless of what I did and said. And I was the youngest of 3, and my job was to make everybody else miserable to get what I wanted. So that love has stayed with me throughout the years. My best friend and wife of 52 years, I just couldn't be where I am without Candace's support. So those relationships have always been important to me, but professional relationships are the ones that kind of came to me late. And clearly they're important to me now. And I do appreciate what you, Aaron, and Scott do so very well. And I've been trying to learn from both of you and everyone who has developed this skill. One of the things I have learned, and it's always in the back of my mind, is I want to hang out with people who share my values. And I had 2 previous careers, and as I look back on them, the people that I reported to did not share my values. And I sort of realized that when I walked away from the second career and needed to build something, and I could only do it through, meeting people. And I wanted to meet and work with people that I really respected, who had values that I could identify through their words and their acts, and the consistency of that. That's become critical to me.
Scott, why don't you answer that? Because you've kind of become known to the millennial generation as the king of relationships in this city.
Amen.
I think it's because you and Isaac are so busy being in shape and eating really good foods that you're not chubby and approachable, and that allows people to let their guard down. But I think I've shared this with people before. I didn't know I was dyslexic growing up, and so I was I coincidentally popular because I was friends with everyone. And I was an athlete, but the reason I was nice to everyone was because I had no idea what was on the test. I had no idea what our homework was. And so I knew by helping others, I could end up helping myself. And so I just got lucky that I overcompensated in other areas for a deficiency that I had. And little did I know that deficiency led me to figuring out if I could figure out what other people wanted, and I could connect them, that they would help me, and they wouldn't know that I wasn't dumb or not smart. And I truly thought that. I mean, even when I have 2 children, I was worried that they were not going to be smart, but I don't think it was just a worry of mine that I grew up with. But it's not that I wasn't smart. I just had trouble reading what was on the paper. So I got lucky. So I know it sounds weird, but I grew up thinking I wasn't a smart guy. I just, joked my way through college. And, I was part of the Sunday, Monday, Wednesday club because everyone else went out Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was a 7-night-a-week guy, and I didn't go to college for the education. I was there for the people. And so I had a fun time, but that was very nice of you, Aaron, to say that. I guess I should
Were you the social chairman?
I did hold the record for being social chair for 4 semesters in a row. And I also had Otis Day and the Knights play at my 21st birthday party at the Granada for a 1,300 person toga party. When I told my business partner we made no money and we lost money, he was a little upset. But I said, hey, how often do I get to have Otis Day and the Knights play my 21st birthday party? So I lived college and more. I wish I wouldn't have done it so hard because obviously you want to take care of yourself for health reasons. But, I think livers have time to recover. And so I think I've had enough time. But Aaron, with our time ending with 4 minutes, how have you been so good with relationships and how has it benefited your business?
Well, so I was also the social chair, but I only got to do it for a few weeks because I missed all the paperwork on the first party and I wasn't good at the paperwork part. So I just was like, I'll just show up next time. I think that relationships, a funny story is Scott and I met on LinkedIn, and it took us a while to decide to meet with each other for both of us, right? And then when we sat down with each other, we couldn't, if you know Scott and I at all, we're very opposites. And so it took us a long time to get where we are, but we kept just circling back to each other. And so through that, we've really grown this show. I think this is probably right here, speaking of our relationships. Half of these are your relationships. Half of these are my relationships. Quentin and I met because I used to get on all the girls in the office because when he'd walk his dog, they'd all stand at the window to look at him and his dog, right? So finally I said, I'm just going to go ask him to come in here so you guys will get back to work. And that's essentially how we met. And then, Sly, we've really met through Joni, who's become a good friend of mine. Steve, we've never met in person. And Isaac, we just met in person when you were in my office with another client. So, you and Sky have a great relationship, Steve and Scott. So I think it's shown me, especially during COVID, that especially in Kansas City, that everybody's connected somehow, and that every single relationship, Scott's been on me to be really, really honest. I'm not Italian, but I acted Italian when somebody made me mad, and I was just done for a really long time, right? I was like, just done. I watched too much Sopranos back in the day. And part of my relationship with Scott is he's really taught me that, you just can't do that. Relationships matter in every single part. So I think that's the thing. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything, it's taught me at least that all of our relationships are really important. And with that said, we are so incredibly honored and thankful to have all of you guys on here today. You can get, Sly, you've got your book on your LinkedIn. I know that for sure.
Yep.
It's right here, The Opportunity Agenda.
It has its own website, theopportunityagenda.com.
Perfect. And you can download on iPhone right now, PawConX. Isaac and Steve, we're going to tag both of you guys. So if people want to connect with any of you guys, I'm sure that you are open to that. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to do some coaching, you want to talk about how to run a peer group and how to do all of that, all of these guys have been so welcoming to us. So I know they will to you. And we greatly thank you. Make sure if you want to know who's coming on next week, get a sneak peek. Text us and we'll let you know. And with that, we like to wave. Have you guys seen the meme that says I never waved in person at the end of a meeting? But we thank you so much for watching and